To the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Webster, today, January 14th, 2025. We currently have 3 items on today's agenda. For public comment period, we're going to limit any public comments to 5 minutes apiece. I have proof of legal publication here for all items. Call for attendance.
Mr. Short.
Here.
Mrs. Volo. Here. Mr. Leibner.
Here.
Mr. Spampanato.
Here.
Mr. Santola.
Here.
Mr. Artuso.
Here.
Mrs. Corsi.
Here.
And Mr. DeMarco.
Here.
All right, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have Josh Artuso who's going to wants to talk about some adjustments and changes we have for our presentations moving forward that we're going to be trying.
Thank you, Chairman Short. Good evening, everyone. As the chairman mentioned, we're introducing a new format to our meetings starting tonight. We're going to be conducting a PowerPoint presentation in which the town staff will present portions of the application, and then the applicant will be responsible for presenting some additional information specific to their application. And then we will turn it over to the board for discussion. So just bear with us as we're working through this new format for the first time. But we will indicate when it's your time to speak. So with that, I will turn it over to Erica.
So our first project tonight is for 964 Ridge Road, Bill Gray's signage. The applicant is Charles P. Kelly, representing agent Charles P. Kelly. Zoning district is the HC High Intensity Commercial District. The variance requests are 3 single-faced building-mounted facade signs where only 1 is permitted, a total of 380 square feet of building-mounted signage which exceeds 10% of the tenant space facade. The maximum allowed is 294 square feet, and 1 15-foot tall monument sign for the plaza where the maximum height allowed is 6 feet. So if the applicant wants to go to the podium. Relevant sections to the town for this application is 265-7, signs permitted in business, commercial, and industrial districts. 265-7A, planning board shall approve the number of facade signs per building. Total sign area will not exceed 10% of the square footage. And then 265-7C, all signs must be constructed in monument form and or style and not exceed 6 feet in height. So, without further ado, sir.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Gray from Bill Gray's Restaurants, Director of Facilities for the company. We're proposing we'll start with the monument sign first. The initial proposal was for 15 feet. We met with the planning board last week, and we brought that down to 10 feet from their recommendations and for their approval. We're just trying to stay in line with the rest of some of the other monument signs that are on and around that area. Corner of Ridge and Hard. There's another one over by the Target Plaza is also a similar size, and the one over on Hard Road by the Whitewater, the actual plaza entrance for there that goes into BJ's. So that's kind of where we are with that one. And then the building itself, we recommended we proposed all 3 of those. All 3 parts of those are been part of our brand, and we have multiple examples of that. Our Bill Gray's in Ontario, actually our Bill Gray's in Webster has all those, minus the tap room. We has all the World's Greatest Cheeseburger, Home's World's Greatest Cheeseburger, and the Bill Gray's signs. and we have actually 3 of them on that building as well. And then I can cite multiple other businesses in the area that also have 3 signs on their buildings as well, and some more. We're just we're pretty proud of what we're doing in that plaza redevelopment, and we just want to make sure that the building is, the center of that building shows the restaurant. And also we split for all of our tap rooms, we've generally split our restaurant side and our tap room side anyway, so we always try to designate both of those as separate. So that's another reason why we're applying for that.
Okay. With the new process, does the board have to read this in? Is my question.
When you say read in,
We usually go through the agenda, we read in the,
no, I think,
there's no
yeah,
necessary.
it's in the record now, so we're all set.
Okay, very good. Questions from the board?
You want to start with the monument sign, is that what you said?
Yes, sir. And I actually do, if you want, I unfortunately couldn't get it in time until this morning. I do have the revised copies of the proposed 10-foot sign, if the board would like to see them.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yep.
Can you bring them up?
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So he's in with that? Horrible.
Does the board have any questions on the monument sign?
That goes with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
No?
do not. This, this is actually what I was going to ask the applicant if they could consider.
Yep. Okay. Move on to the building signs. Does the board have any questions on the building signs themselves?
I guess I'm wondering on the need for all of them. I did go to Bill Gray's in Arundecoit, the tap room there. I also went to the tap room out in Ontario. They both have road signs, and the one in Arundecoit has significantly less signage as far as all in one place. And even in Ontario, the signage just appeared less. I understand the need to have the tap room entrance separate from the Bill Gray's restaurant entrance, but is there a way to incorporate, say, like the Bill Gray's on the tower over the restaurant door with World's Greatest Cheeseburger, just to reduce the number of signs? Because you're asking for 2 more than technically are permitted, so just curious as to why.
Well, again, the center sign, the larger one, was kind of showing that the overall, it's kind of an umbrella of, this is, basically the two, we have 2 different tenant spaces, basically, because originally we developed the site as, there's 2 towers of it also already, so to keep in line with the symmetry of that, as well, we have the one side for the restaurant, the one side for the tap room, and then obviously the overarching theme of it is Bill Gray's in the center, and that's kind of what our mindset was of that, and also that the fact that it's the main tenant for the plaza itself. That we own it, and that's kind of, we're the featured tenant of the space. And then again, the one in Arundecoit, I understand there's less signage on it. It's also a much smaller location. I believe that square footage, that place is 7,000 square feet. The new tap room, the new proposed site here we're building is 15,000 square feet. And it also does have a tap room as well added on to that one. Like Seabreeze is a good example also of that as well, if you go
Well,
down.
there's another one in Arundecoit
The one,
besides
the
Seabreeze?
the Arundecoit one on, I thought you were, I talking about the one on, the Arundecoit one on Ridge Road.
Seabreeze.
Oh,
Seabreeze is
Seabreeze,
the one I
okay.
said.
Yeah.
We also have, the other thing I want to mention too is our current location in Webster that doesn't have a tap room has all that stuff. I mean, it doesn't have the tap room sign on it, but it has 1, 2, 3. Has the 3 signs on the building. On the south side of the building is Bill Gray's and Home of the World's Greatest Cheeseburger, because Home of the World's Greatest Cheeseburger has been like a brand. It's just part of our signage for a while now. I mean, Ontario being one of our oldest locations, Webster has also been here forever. We have it at our Henrietta location as well, and there's one more I have on here that I was looking up earlier this morning. Yeah, Seabreeze has that as well on the south side of the building as well. Or, sorry, the west side of the building.
The Bill Gray's on, Hard Road, right? It's only Bill Gray's on the Hard Road side,
Correct, yeah.
right?
But what I'm saying, what I'm using that as an example of is the fact that the World's Greatest Cheeseburger is a part of our,
Sure.
part of our signage for the years.
Yep, I got you.
And again, we're using that specific spot to designate the restaurant side, and obviously the Bill Gray's Tap Room side is, well, the Bill Gray's Tap Room, and then Bill Gray's in the middle signifying
It's
everything.
the whole umbrella
Yes.
of it. Now, are there more signs that are going to end up going on that Hard Road facade of the
The
entire
only,
building?
the only signage we would have at the very end would be, or when it's all said and done, would be at the very far end of the tower, the north end tower, whenever that tenant comes in. It would be basically the same thing as the Webster Wine Spirits.
Okay,
We'd probably do one facing the east side of the building along the plaza face, and then probably one facing north, over facing towards, the hotel and all that. Yep,
you have 104 in Beach
Yep.
Wilson, okay.
yep.
All right, thank you.
Well, I kind of agree that World's Greatest Cheeseburger is kind of a namesake for what you guys do, and it's been on the signs forever.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not the name of a building, and not the name of a business. It's an advertisement. That, to me, could be put in the window rather than up on a 10-by-10 sign.
And again, I just had to, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to cite that, again, we've had it. It's been on our buildings for forever. And I understand what you're saying, sir, but I guess my counterpoint to that again is everything I just said before.
If that wasn't there, that would get you down within the allowable square footage for signage.
Other comments from the board? With that, I'll open it up to public comment. If there's anybody who wants to speak for or against the project, please come on up.
Hi, I'm Chairman Kelly from CP Kelly.
I need you to,
Yep.
up to the mic and,
I'm Charlie Kelly from CP Kelly. We're the general contractor here. I think roughly a year ago, November, we brought in a 3D sign that showed the same facade with the same signage. That was basically approved as long as we dropped that monument sign down to 10 feet. So the signage on that facade is nothing new. And what they're trying to do is really, they like to keep family orientated on the Bill Gray side and the tap room more on the tap room side. So, and Home of the World Cheeseburger is Bill Gray's.
Mr. Kelly, when you said it was, I'm not clear on the wording. You said it was basically approved. What are you referring
Yeah,
to there?
one of the comments was if we would drop that
Right, one of the,
pylon.
when? Was it
No, it was,
a public proceeding? Was
Yeah,
it-
the November meeting in '23, I believe,
Was
is
that-
when it was.
It
Was that
was at the
planning
time
board or-
of site plan approval with
It
the
was
planning
site
board
plan.
for the
So
monument sign.
we did a 3D rendering sitting across the street that we have a copy of that we had to present here.
Yeah, that was a planning board approval.
And I'm sure they said any variances, you'll need to go before the zoning board of appeals, which is where you are now. So while the site plan was approved, the sign size and locations were not given any variances
It
at that meeting.
Well, it was pretty clear. I don't know what the meeting minutes actually say, but it does talk about reducing the pylon sign to 10 foot. When all the owners were here and they agreed to do that at that point in time.
You understand there's a distinction between the functions of the two boards?
100%.
Okay.
We were at both of them,
When you say both of
zoning
them,
and planning.
I don't,
I
don't
don't
recall.
recall you being here for the
Didn't
zoning
need any
board.
variances for zoning board.
Only
Which is
planning.
The site plan didn't,
Okay,
didn't require any variances, so
okay.
you would not have had to come here.
Any other, any additional comments?
No, I think that's it for now.
All right. I'll bring it back to the to the zoning board. Any, yeah. Any other comments from the zoning board?
One of the boards.
One of the boards.
can I just, what, this is to the staff, what's the game plan for memorializing the PowerPoint in the record? In other words, during the course of the presentation this evening, the staff went through a number of different pages, and I don't know if it went through all the pages or not. And obviously, one of the benefits of doing it electronically is that the town isn't printing up 24 pages times 7 and putting them in our files. So, have you flashed through all of those on our respective screens this evening, or only choice selections based upon the narrative that was occurring in the proceeding?
The second description you just gave.
So I think we gotta smooth that out somehow.
Okay.
How many pages is this presentation?
The presentation is about 47 pages because it's an exact one-to-one with the applicant's application. So the application that's submitted to us, that is presented to you all on the board, is put into this PowerPoint. So
Okay,
you have seen,
okay. So there's an affirmation that there's nothing in the PowerPoint that was not provided to the board members through conventional means.
correct.
Okay. With the, and the staff notes as well?
The staff notes are an internal and public note for everyone. So high-intensity commercial district, that's public knowledge.
Well,
Previous.
I'm not questioning whether it's public knowledge, but those notes
Mhm.
were also part of that 40-some-odd page package that each board member received.
The PowerPoint was not provided in paper form to.
No, I know that. The equivalent of the 47 frames
Mhm.
was received by the board members
Yes,
electronically.
yes, we did
Yes.
receive
Okay,
that.
and that included
The
the
staff.
staff notes?
Yes.
Yes.
Staff notes were included in what we got.
Okay.
Yes, we did receive
Great.
those.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure, for the benefit of the applicant and the community, that we're not seeing anything that is not reflected in the record.
Yes,
Okay,
understood.
fabulous.
Good?
Yep, thank
All
you.
right, yep. Yep.
Hello and good evening. My name is Rich Maston. I'm Vice President of Bill Gray's. We met with the planning board on 3 separate occasions, 2 in this format, and 1 in a work study format. Josh, I'm not sure if you were there or not. We were in this room in a U-shaped discussion, and there was 3 key points that the planning board pointed out to us that we wanted to work together with the town on. One was the sidewalk, what side of the road it was going to go on. And I had suggested to the town that we would be willing to put the sidewalk in on the east side of Hard Road because of the challenges that the contractors would have with putting in the sidewalk with the underground piping and the flow of the land, how it was graded down. And there were some concerns with the pitch. The second concern was the dumpster area on Ridge Road, in that we needed to have that properly secured with concrete walls, and it was to be gated closed. And we agreed not to have 18-wheelers delivering, making deliveries or pickups off of Ridge Road. So we're installing a brand-new loading dock on the far west of the building, around the back, and that's where the large tractor trailers are going to come in. The third concern that we had, and the town had, was the signage. And we agreed to do everything that the town had, planning board had asked us to do with the sidewalk, the loading dock, the parking, as we should. And we had asked for, here is our presentation for the signage package that we need for this building to make ourselves known, that this is now the Bill Gray's Plaza, not the Hagedorn's Plaza. Bill Gray and Bruce Hagedorn both have now since passed. Mary Hagedorn passed last night. They were partners back in the 60s. And we made an offer to the Hagedorn Family Partnership, Bill Gray's, to buy the property, and we would redevelop it and kind of keep it in the family, because a lot of the Hagedorn's family members are also owners of the Bill Gray's. Getting back to home of the world's greatest cheeseburger, as Jim mentioned to all of you, that is our identity. For all those people that come to the town of Webster, for all the sporting events and stays in the hotels, have no idea what Bill Gray's is. They truly don't. Years ago, we approached the town and asked for a variance to put home of the world's greatest cheeseburger on the south side of the existing building. We have done that at other locations because we're finding the same thing, that Rochester is a great community for all different types of events. And people need to know outside of this market what Bill Gray's is. If you're not from this area and you come to Webster, what's a Bill Gray's? I don't know. It could be a bookstore. It could be anything. It doesn't say it's Bill Gray's Restaurants, it's Bill Gray's. Yes, it says Bill Gray's Tap Room, but Bill Gray's is a small print. Home of the world's greatest cheeseburger was trademarked back in the late 80s, early 90s. We're proud of that designation because that's who we are. We're about cheeseburgers, kids' meals, fish dinners, and custard. That's our product. And we encourage the board to please consider our request for the 3 signs in the building. We're willing to reduce our monument sign, even though there are others that have larger, with possibly fewer tenants, at least fewer tenants on their sign. We requested 15. We're willing to go down to 10 feet. But please, give us our 3 signs so we can do our best to repay back what we need to pay back on this project. As Charlie, our general contractor, every time he puts the shovel in the ground, it's a new surprise. And a new surprise doesn't come at a cost of $100, it's tens of thousands. And we really are looking to try to bring something great to the community by having Bill Gray's. I don't know if you've all been in the new liquor store, Sherry and John Gonzalez's new liquor store, Sherry Hagedorn. It's beautiful from what they had. I think it's 6 times its size. We're gonna do the same thing with Bill Gray's. When you come in, it's gonna be amazing. And then with the next tenant on the end. And then whatever we do for Don and Rick Warren below, when we redevelop their space, please, take it under serious consideration. We're not asking for a lot. This is a simple thing. And hopefully you would grant us that approval. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Have you ever watched Shark Tank before?
Yes, I've watched all the seasons.
You know, they usually, like, if this was Shark Tank, everybody would have a cheeseburger right now. Before the presentation.
I may have certificates in my,
I'm just kidding, I'm just trying to make it a little lighter.
but when you make
All
me
right.
come back next month, I will be sure to bring the cheeseburgers and the milkshakes. And being on a Tuesday night, it'll be great plates. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, additional questions or comments from the board?
I don't know if it's possible, on the town website, but not in our packets, under the zoning board things, there's a picture of the Bill Gray's with all of the signs across the front, not just this slice, so that it gives us the perspective of the whole building. Is that impossible to pull up, please, and thank you?
You might be able to pull it off of Google Earth.
If they can't find it, I do have I did bring a full,
Because when I
Yeah.
looked at this, it's like, okay, it's a lot of signs in a little space, looking at all of
Yeah.
the towers and the entire length of the
Well, yeah,
building, the
if you can't find it,
perspective
I
is
can give you this.
different.
You can pull on this. Sorry, it's a bit big, but I apologize.
Corinne, where'd you say you saw that? Was it on the town website, you said?
Yes, for the stuff that was with the applications.
Okay.
And I went, oh, okay, that,
And that's underneath.
They're not doing it themselves.
but it at least gives me
Perspective.
perspective.
No, I think, you know, the balances off the 2 towers.
Mhm.
There you go.
I mean,
Yes,
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
yeah, I don't have any problem with it not saying Bill Gray's because it is their brand.
Take this over the other side there, show everybody.
Now, obviously, that one, the colors are different, but
So the only,
What's the gist?
only,
Yeah,
the only
yes.
additional sign then would be what is listed as food market. That is the only additional sign, is that correct?
correct.
I understand it's not a food market, it's
Yeah, yeah,
TBD,
yeah.
but that, and it's only going to be on the tower, both the north face and the east face?
Yes, sir.
At
Yep.
that, at
Yep.
that point in time?
Yep. Yeah, we should only, if you're from the east side of that building, there'll just be Webster Wine Spirits, the Bill Gray's sign package, and then one sign at the very end.
What is next to, on the left side of the Bill Gray's sign? Is that just a dimension, or is there actually something there?
Left side of,
Even in our small packet, there's like a white out. Yeah, right there.
oh, I believe that's a dimension.
That's a dimension, okay.
That's a dimension,
That's it,
yeah.
okay. Any other comments, Chris, Corinne?
I'm not sure which file this came from, but the record should reflect that the applicant did provide a complete view of the entire front of the plaza for
Yeah, this should go in the.
context of
You want to give it to
of the signage.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Is, just from my perspective, the wine and spirits sign dimensions, are the world's greatest cheeseburger in the tap room the same?
Every single one of the square signs you see are all 10 by 10.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to get out, and it wasn't.
No, from that far.
Are you open to suggestions of sign size changing? Take the two signs
Well,
on the sides, make them 9 by 9.
so wouldn't, I feel like that would create, right, like at 10 by 10, because Webster Wine and Spirits is already a 10 by 10 sign. That would create a, it wouldn't be uniform across the whole front of the building. You'd
Hear me
see.
out.
All those towers are actually.
If you go 9 by 9 on those signs and shorten the Bill Gray sign by 5 feet, that would bring you down within the allowable square footage for your frontage. And the food mart could go back up to 10 by 10, and then you'd have symmetry on both ends with a little smaller in the middle.
I know, from my perspective, I don't know what that, I guess I'm not seeing what that ends up gaining. I don't know what we are losing by having the three signs there. I do know that it is, it doesn't meet current zoning code. From my perspective, I'm not seeing, what I'm seeing is I see 4 signs, one for each tenant, if you will, tap room, and the cheeseburger location is your tenant locations. And ultimately, I understand Bill Gray's is, it's the restaurant, but in this instance, it's also the Bill Gray's Plaza, essentially, if you will, to a certain degree. I understand the request. I don't know, what do we gain out of it? Losing a foot off of each one of those, other than it'll end up conforming to the square footage
Right.
requirements. I don't know if we're really
That's
gaining
all.
much.
Well,
I got
I
you.
think if the
Looks
applicant
unbalanced.
wanted to avoid getting a variance, their design professionals could have proffered that before they even came here tonight. So for whatever reason, that's the size they want, they're asking
Sure.
for the variance. If for whatever reason they weren't to get it, they can go ahead, as he suggested, make them smaller and put them up tomorrow.
Right,
Well, get their permits and put them up
right.
tomorrow if they wanted to. So I think, I understand what he's saying, and from an ease of getting it done and quick of getting it done, they've always had that opportunity. For whatever reason, they've chosen to apply for the variance, and we should probably vote based on the size that they gave us.
But just a suggestion.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not jumping on it.
Brought up
I
a
just-
point.
Yeah, that's a good point. We had conversation up here. I guess I'll ask, mind answering his question, I guess is, I don't know if you already answered his question. Would you guys consider it?
I mean, more or less, that was, when we designed this, that was kind of our intent to have this up like this, and I'd like to continue to try to work towards having the square footage that we have on the building.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
This, the Bill Gray's tap room in the middle. You got your the liquor, wine and spirits.
Excuse me?
You had the liquor, the wine and spirits on the corner.
Yes, sir.
Then you have Bill Gray's.
The
in middle,
restaurant.
And then you have room for,
The tap room.
no, after the tap room.
After the tap.
Future.
Yeah, after the tap room, we have an additional.
Food mark,
Yeah, that's just something that was put in there just to show.
but that will also be 10 by 10.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I'm getting at.
Yep.
All right,
And there'll be one more around the corner.
around the corner.
Correct.
From it.
Okay,
Yep.
yep.
Okay.
Now, if I look at the plaza across the street, just as another example, just looking for long stretches of facade, I have a whole lot more signage. Granted, there's a whole lot more tenants, but there's many more signs in the plaza across the street in the same relative length, just based on there's more businesses. But it's excessive as far as the number of signs is what's permitted per code, but based on the number of signs per the length of that building, I don't know that it looks out of place. It
Agreed.
actually kind of balances itself.
No, I agree. I think it works well.
All right, any other questions from the board at this point, or comments, or?
No.
No? If we're all set, then, like to vote on seeker?
Seeker and finders.
Seeker, yep. I'd like to make a motion for type 2 action under seeker pursuant to NYCRR section 617.5 of the Environmental Code.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Everyone do the findings?
You can. I'm gonna back up a minute. Erica, did you wanna cover anything within the staff notes before we do findings, or?
I can read them aloud if you'd like. It was pretty much covered
No,
by the board.
okay, I didn't know
Yeah.
if there were any extra
The only thing I will
comments or-
say was that the planning board did conditionally approve the monument sign per zoning board meeting tonight.
Right,
At
for
10 feet.
At 10
At
feet.
10 feet.
Yep.
At 10 feet, yes.
And we did receive a letter from Chairman Kashani stating as such.
And we also
That should
received
go
a
into-
revised 10-foot monument as well as during the board meeting. Chris?
Sorry.
Okay. I think there would be no undesirable changes to the essential character of the neighborhood or the development. While there are other remedies based on the building design and the existing signage that's there, the proposed signage is in character and creates a more coherent and cohesive facade along all road access side of the building. It's not a substantial request. There are no detrimental physical or environmental conditions or actions because of this request. And while it is self-created, once again, based on the design of the building and the existing signage that's there now, I think it is a good remedy and works well with the building.
All right. Anybody else want to add anything else? Because we also have to do the, do we have to do the monument sign as well?
Well, I think the conditions are similar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we want to do two separate resolutions, one for each sign, or building signs versus monument sign. How did we have it written up?
Well, there should be a separate finding.
So we're fine for each of
It
them?
doesn't be a separate motion, but there should be a finding with respect to the
Okay.
monument sign.
Okay, that was for the building signage.
That was for the building signage. For the monument signage, it will not create a detriment to the essential character of the neighborhood. The other monument signs in the area are either at this height or slightly taller. The BJ sign looks to be approximately 10 feet as well. There are signs at the plaza across the street that are less than 10 feet, but there's also plaza signs across the street that are greater than 10 feet, so it's certainly not out of character with the neighborhood. No other remedy. The applicant originally requested a 15 feet sign height and has agreed to reduce it to 10 feet, which is a significantly less impact, so they have actually improved upon the request that they have made. There's certainly no environmental or physical impact or conditions to the neighborhood or the district. And while it is self-created, a monument sign is permitted and also really is required in order to identify the businesses that are in the plaza for just traffic and direction of traffic flow. And I do want to also note that you also agreed to include the address on the sign, which is, thank you. That just
Not a
makes
problem.
safety
Mhm.
just better, so.
And it's in an area where, I mean, there's monument signs all around, and, I mean, so there's no adverse, visual impact anywhere else in the area, so, all right. With that, I'd like to make a motion, to approve, Bill Gray's signage located at 964 Ridge Road, for 3 single-face building-mounted facade signs, where one is permitted. That is 2 10-foot by 10-foot signs located on the tower, and 1 30-foot by 6-foot sign located in between the 2 towers, and 1 10-foot tall monument plaza sign with the building address located on it. This is associated with the Bill Gray's Tap Room and redevelopment, located on a 6.68 acre parcel having SBL 079.15-1-1.1, located in a HC High-Intensity Commercial District under Section 265-7 of the Code of Town of Webster.
Second.
Mr. Short,
Aye?
Mrs. Volo,
Aye.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Spagnano,
Aye.
Mr. Centola.
Aye.
You have your variance for both the monument sign as well as the signs on the plaza itself. You have 1 year for completion. You have to get all variances or all permits before you can start construction.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have the garage removal, new pole barn located at 580 Bay Road. Applicant Jack Burke is requesting an area variance to allow a 20-foot rear setback where 50 feet is required, and to allow the overall size to exceed 2% of the lot size associated with the construction of a new 2,100 square foot pole barn on a 1.2 acre parcel having SBL 063.101-1-89, located in an R3 single-family residential district under Section 35012 and Section 350-36 of the Code of Webster.
Just would like to add, because you read it all, but the proposal is to remove a single car garage, 1.5, if you will, and replace it with the 2,100 square foot pole barn. And the pole barn will be attached to the existing chicken coop on the property. All right.
All right, we're working out the details of who goes when and who talks when, so
You have
we're
tell
trying to
me
figure
too,
it out.
Because this is my first rodeo. Okay. Should I?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, you
please.
have to tell me what to
Yeah.
do. And thank you, Erica and Josh, for all of your help in preparing this. I'm Susanna Dutro. I've lived at 580 Bay Road for 21 years this year. It is the old Lorman Farm, Miller Farm, so a lot of people know it. So I've been the proud steward of a historic property in Webster. It is a registered, in Webster only, registered historic property. So we're looking to demolish the existing structure, which was built much, much later than the house, and the stone house, which Erica referred to as the chicken coop. It did house chickens, pigs, and milk at one time. Looking to build a pole barn where the garage is now, that would probably be more in keeping with what is there. The garage that was built there does not accommodate vehicles. We've never been able to put our cars in there, so often when you drive by my house, it looks like I'm having a party, and it's just because we're home. It's just, So we also, I do have a partially home-based business where we will be acquiring a truck this year, and I would like to have a place to park the truck so that the neighbors are not looking at a truck or looking at a parking lot full of cars, which are just my kids and family. So looking to house all of that structure there as well as storage for us.
So, section of ordinance in question is Article 3, District Regulations, Section 350-12B, which is the dimensional regulations, and then 350-12B5, which is the minimum setbacks, and 350-12B5C, which is minimum rear setback of 50 feet. Additionally, Section 350-36, it's accessory buildings, and then 350-36A3, no such building shall be larger than 25% of the square footage of the main building or habitable floor area of the residence upon such lot, or 2% of the lot size, whichever is larger. In no case shall the accessory building exceed 2,500 square feet in size. So if you want to go through, this is, talks about the variance requirements, so character of the neighborhood, the examples you provided us, et cetera, provides you the opportunity to discuss these more in depth with the board.
Okay.
I'll go through the slides as you go.
Okay, so character of the neighborhood, we are one of several farmhomes on Bay Road, so we're not really attached to, we are attached to, but not directly to the homes that are behind us, so it's more in keeping with the farm feel of Webster. As you go down Bay Road, you can pick out the farms. So those are the ones that we're relating to, and that it's not out of keeping with that. There are other properties that I believe you show here where they do have structures that are closer to the property line. It's unique in that it's not a neighborhood, so it's in keeping with the farm feel of Webster, which I have really enjoyed. And you can see them, you can pick them out as you go down Bay Road, as you make that drive down towards the lake. That's what we're looking to do, is really clean up the property, make it more in keeping with the original structure. And some of these houses have nicer examples of that. Yeah, in terms of alternatives, it's what we really need is just a bigger structure to accommodate our needs. One of the benefits, I feel, is that next to the existing structure, there is a garden that came with the house that is stone, and it's quite high maintenance. So that will, and I'm sure my neighbors will very much appreciate us kind of cleaning up that area and having it be a nicer view of what little view they have, because you can't see much of it. We're looking to completely obscure the view, where if you drive down Del Rio, which is the side street that runs near, we're planning on planting trees, so they will see trees and they will see a clean structure with, that looks like it's part of a farmhouse, rather than what they see now, which is kind of a rundown garage that was built much later, and a garden that, we do not care to keep. So it will be a better view. And then from the road, you'll see what looks like part of a farmhouse. So in terms of size, to accommodate our needs, it really needs to kind of take up that space. What we have now is oddly shaped and does not work for us.
May I ask, you mentioned when you were earlier on, part of the reason for it was to park your cars, because currently you don't have the ability to park your cars in the
Right.
garage. But then you indicated a business vehicle. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that aspect? And I guess at the end of the day, I have a 30 by 70 barn on my property. It's a big structure.
Yeah.
It's massive, right?
Yeah.
It's, if I had to guess, I could probably get probably close to 16 cars in my barn.
Yeah.
So a 30 by 70 barn, it's not two cars. It's not two cars in a vehicle, in a truck.
Right.
So talk to me is the reason for something that large, I guess is really what I'm trying to
Well, we have
understand.
4 drivers. I have a work car and a personal vehicle as well. So that will be an additional vehicle on the property. Plus, we have guests, regular people coming by the house. So it looks like a parking lot. So as many vehicles as we can fit would be helpful. It's also meant for overflow storage and a creative space for me. So it is a decorating business, so we do utilize storage in Webster, in U-Haul. So it would be overflow storage, but it would also be a workspace that would be, enjoyed by me. So it's meant, partially for enjoyment as well, to have a bigger space to accommodate all of that. My thought process was that, the next steward of the property is probably someone that's going to want to have that type of a structure as well. So I'm looking for the longevity of the property as well, because I'm thinking of the historic nature of it. I'd like to bring at least that piece of it to a point where it could be enjoyed by the next family down the road. Because for us, it functioned. I'm an old house person, but it just doesn't function. You need that space, and it's kind of a dead space on the property too. It's an oddly shaped area in the property. We'd be bumping into where the garden is, and it just makes more sense. It just makes more sense.
Can you talk to, and I don't know your business, but as far as I know, businesses in R3, I don't know if they're trying to look at the code, what is allowed and what is not allowed.
It's a staging business for home sales, so it's decorating, so it's really just overflow storage. So the business is not functioning there, we function in the field. I didn't want to get that confused. So it's not a facility for the business. But it would be helpful to me personally to have a creative space to work on that, and have some overflow, because we just don't have enough storage in general on the property. There's no attic. There's, it's really limited storage-wise.
Sure.
So that is part of the need. So I don't want it to get confused. I was hesitant to even bring up the business piece of it because it isn't a facility for the business, but the work truck would come home with me. That's part of it.
And it's one work truck?
One, and then I have a work Subaru that I drove today, and then I have a personal car, and then we have 3 other drivers as well with cars.
When you say drivers, I mean, is that 3 other vehicles, or is that?
Vehicles.
So what
Yeah.
would be parked at the residential property? Would it all, so if I did my math right, 4 or 5, it's 6 vehicles would be parked
So
at the
there would
property,
be,
or?
there would be, trying to count. Yes.
So all 6 vehicles would be parked there. The 3 drivers you talked about, the 1 work vehicle, the Subaru, which is a work vehicle, your personal, and the other personal, right? That's what I recall you saying.
Right.
If the kids,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
sure, that's
Yeah,
fair,
it's a lot
but
of-
without
it's
the
a lot-
kids, it's those 6 vehicles. Is that correct? No, it's not, okay.
It's that's
It's
for the
with the kids.
family and
Okay.
the 2 business vehicles
Okay.
that are personally, they're not registered as commercial vehicles. It's a small SUV used for the business. So it's
Okay.
an extra, I have 2 cars that I use.
You're allowed 2 cars, I'm not, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah,
Again,
sure.
it's a big structure.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand the use of the structure, and we've had other people come in and ask for a pole barn, and as we are having conversations with them, we come to find out what the use is, and, it then brings up other questions and concerns. The intent is all of those vehicles would be, so the intent is not all those vehicles would be parked inside there, because when the kids are home, my guess is they're coming and going, right? Would be my guess.
Yes, usually.
So
yes.
inside the pole barn would be
4.
4 vehicles at, kind of at all, I'm gonna say at all times. I understand different times of the day and work and everything else,
Right.
but in general, 4 vehicles will be parked in the pole barn itself.
But also looking for that workspace,
Understood.
creative workspace.
Yep.
And to, to have storage, because it's an old house basement, which I'm sure you're familiar with, which is, a little different than a newer home where you can safely and happily put things in the basement. And no attic, and it's an old house with limited closet space, so there's very little storage, of really any kind on the property.
I got an old house too. I lucked out because I do have a basement and I
Yeah.
do have an attic.
Yeah, we have a basement, but there's, it's an old house basement, yeah. So
hear
those
you.
are a little different.
The plan that you provided us is one large open space. 2 garage doors on one side, looks like 2 man doors, and a handful of windows. Just going off of typicals, roughly 50 feet of that 70 feet would be taken up by vehicles. Would you say that that's about accurate, plus or
think
minus
that's about
between 40 and
accurate.
50 feet?
I think that's about accurate.
So that ends up leaving you with 20 to 30 by 30 for your own personal
Overflow
studio,
storage.
overflow storage, et cetera.
Yeah, and just regular home storage too, because that's always been a challenge with the
Okay.
house.
And, yeah, I'll be honest, when I was looking at this packet and this particular image, I was struggling with the offsets and what they were saying. Can somebody tell me what those say? It was really tiny in my packet.
The offsets meaning,
I think we were talking about 20 feet off of is that the north property line, if I remember correctly? What is it off the rear property line to the building?
65.9.
65.9?
Oh, the existing
The
garage.
existing garage.
To the
The
existing,
existing garage is 65.9.
But the new garage will be 20 feet to the rear property line?
That's
20
the
to
way
the,
I interpreted it, when I saw the packet.
But, yeah, the copy is so small. Can you let us know what the setbacks are to the rear of the building, the proposed building, and to the north side setback?
If I can see it, I will let you know.
Well, because we've got too small of a copy.
Do you have that, Erica?
So,
Maybe you can help me out with that. Thank you.
the rear setback
No, the
requirement
setback,
is
hold on.
50 feet.
So, to the north side, it's 26.5 feet,
okay,
and to the rear, it would be,
the 20 feet?
no, 40.8. Yeah,
Yeah.
40.8.
Based on the drawing.
40.8?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I-
Yeah,
Can I
yeah.
approach you and I'll show you?
Yeah, no,
Yes,
that'd be
please.
great.
That would- Because if
Mind
this
if I-
is 35, and I'm doubling it.
Yeah.
Well,
Perfect.
I'm doubling it.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
All right, so then, mind if I hold on to this until the end?
Yes.
Thank you.
65 minus
So
35
the
is-
intent is the front of the pole barn would be, I think it's roughly where the existing front of the existing garage is, which
Yes.
aligns with the front of the existing stone building. And then it's a 40.8 foot off the rear setback. So that's a 10-foot, a little less than 10 feet, or, yeah, a little less than 10 feet variance that you're asking for.
Right.
And then 26 feet off of the north property line, which I believe is 15-foot requirement. Okay.
Yeah, we
Anybody want- do you guys-
apologize for the confusion. The application indicated a request for 20 feet where 50 feet
No,
was
and that's
required
fine, yeah.
initially, so it must have changed or evolved.
Okay, I apologize too if we
Right.
got that.
All right,
No, that's in your
The
favor.
math,
gonna play devil's advocate, the math doesn't work. If I look at the current building is roughly 35 feet in depth, and I double that, my current setback is 65 feet, so that leaves me with
25 feet?
25-foot setback to the rear property line if the building is truly 70 feet deep.
Okay.
So I guess what I would ask is to have the building placed, I mean,
I believe
If
that
we,
is right.
if we pull
Because I was doing the math in
forward,
my
which
head
was
as well.
considered,
yep,
it will create, because we have a porch,
Yep.
and we have a 200-year-old oak tree that
Sure.
we don't really want to mess with the root
Yep.
structure because it's older than the house.
yep,
If we pull forward, it's going to be tighter with parking because it's a very narrow, unless we start cutting trees,
Sure.
which we don't want to do because they're old, beautiful
Yeah.
trees.
I think what we're trying to do is not make you change the design, just make sure that if we have the rear distance, that that's what you're gonna be tasked with keeping. So, I mean, if you ask for a 20-foot setback, it allows you a little more than if you, based on this, it's 25, based on the math here.
Right.
and based on the drawings, it's 40, right? So,
Yeah,
right now, we have 3 different dimensions. I guess from my perspective, I'd like to see a.
we have the survey, the survey that I brought to you as
So
well.
you guys have a copy of,
Yeah, the instrument, yeah.
yes.
with
Okay.
The label is instrument location map, and as Corinne said, the existing garage is
Can you
just
pull that
under-
up?
Just under 35, so it's 34.3, you'd be doubling that. So if you add another 35 feet, and the setback is 65 feet, you know, do the math, 35 from 65, it's 30. So we just want to make sure when if you were to grant
Yeah,
the
the
variance.
intention was to keep the,
No, I
the
understand the
lines,
intention,
yeah.
but we
So I
need,
guess
we
we-
need a number that, right now, this application has 3 different rear setbacks to it. This is the way I see it.
okay.
Do you see what we're saying?
Yeah, I do.
Because we have 2
I-
separate drawings, and then we have the application
Yeah.
that says 20.
And the most current survey you have is from 1991, which was the previous owner's.
That was the survey. That
Okay.
was the, yes, because I
That
have
was the
not
only
had
one
it
that-
surveyed since I purchased it. So I guess we would default to, and I apologize for the confusion, the size of the structure would be coming from the same place as exactly what you just said. So that would be the,
No, it can be confusing when you're doing it by hand or without a licensed professional, so I understand that, just we want to make sure we get it right so it doesn't impact you further down the road.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, James Architects, it's drafted on
Yeah.
here, and it's listed as 40.8. But they don't have the dimension of the pole barn itself on here, right? So there's, they did get it drafted up, and they did get it, it's just,
I was just trying to be polite.
that's fair. So, all right, so it ends up being, take it, 30, yeah, so that's where the 20 feet is. Okay. So Josh, back to, you are correct.
Well-
If it is 70 feet, which you guys are saying it is a 70-foot pole barn,
Right,
it's a 20-foot variance. That's,
Correct.
you know,
so you were right.
Yeah, I think
So-
We did.
when we met the last time, I
Okay.
think that's what was settled
Yeah, it
upon.
was, it was.
all right.
So that's good, that means the notice is accurate.
Yes. That's what I was more concerned
I
about,
did
that
bring
if they change
samples
it,
as
they have
well
to
of
come back.
siding
Bigger
if you,
setback, but
they would like to see that.
Okay.
Did we kill this issue?
I guess any other questions from the board?
Since you're using it for storage, do you have any plans on putting up any type of wall structures to separate your garage from your storage area? Or workspace area, whatever you want?
That's a thought process, probably not initially. I prefer it to be open as much as possible, actually.
You gonna heat it at all?
Possibly part of it, but yet to be determined.
How do you, and when you say possibly part of it, if you don't put walls up inside, you're eating all of it or none of it?
Right. I would like to finish part of it so that it's climate controlled,
Okay,
but not necessarily the whole structure. I don't need, so it would probably be the back portion.
okay. No plumbing will be in there, correct? No sanitary, no water?
No plumbing needed.
And no, okay, so no sanitary, no water will be in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Electric, obviously,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
Other questions?
Just when we make a motion, make sure that it's, stays.
Questions?
I did bring samples if you would like to
Don
see.
Hauser, right. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
All right,
Just confused on, we threw around so many numbers on setback. I just-
okay, we're at 20 feet from the
20 feet.
rear property line is where we are right now.
Okay.
Um,
No.
All right, I'll open up to the public. Anybody want to speak for or against the project? No? I'll bring it back to the board for any final discussions. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion for a type 2 seeker under pursuant, motion for a type 2 action under seeker pursuant to NYCRR section 617.5 of the Environmental Code.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, go through the findings of the structure. So, this request is, it's not out of character for, the neighborhood. The property is on, Bay Road. It is a fairly larger road. The structure that is presented to us is in the gabled barn style that is being presented and is associated with a older historic house, farmhouse on the property. So it is not out of character for the area, and it is also well hidden by vegetation, mature vegetation. This will not be a detriment to nearby properties, again, because of the vegetation around the perimeter of this property and the mature nature of that vegetation, as well as still additional 20 feet off the rear property line. This will not be a detriment created to nearby properties. The benefit is not achievable by other methods. This is really due to the need for storage that is not available inside the house, and the current garage that is not large enough to house the applicant's vehicles for the building or for themselves, so they want to be able to house that. Other locations on the property would have affected some of the old growth or the mature vegetation. Request is not substantial for all reasons that we just talked about. It is going to be hidden from view from nearby neighbors. There's no adverse physical or environmental impacts to the site or the neighborhood. The difficulty is self-created for the need to want to store vehicles, but it's not unreasonable for this day and age. And the request is not a significant one, as there are other properties with structures, similar type structures on their property. Anybody else want to add anything? No? Okay.
I guess I just want to make sure, we're not having any water, we're not having any sewer, but you're not ever going to convert this into living space.
No,
Okay.
no.
And the neighbors around you that are going to be seeing the building, are they aware of this? Like, have you talked to them about it?
So I have not, there's really only one, you'll only see it from the one side of the property. One of the neighbors really won't see it, and they're brand new, so I have not even met them, and I've never seen them there or
Okay.
been able to catch them. One of the other neighbors, I believe, is in a nursing home, so same thing, that she's not there, but it will be, I would think, a tremendous improvement of her view, which I'm happy about, because she's very meticulous with her yard, and I think she'll enjoy a better view,
Okay.
a much better view.
The back is
And it
lower.
really, because what she's looking at now is a weedy garden and a dilapidated garage. So this is gonna be neat and clean and, you know, I would think a much better view for them. Although I would have liked to have discussed that with them with the holidays and the efficiency of getting on the schedule. And I was out of town, so, but I'm hoping they're very happy about it, because I think it'll really be, you know, a nice thing. I think that's the one eyesore on the property, is really that structure. It brings everything else down. And it was like that when I bought it, and we tried everything to make it look good, and it just really needs to be redone. So,
And based on our conversations, you are not running a business out of this property or this building, correct?
correct.
Okay.
It will be for storage, for, you know, overflow and creative space, but
Yep.
no, it is not a facility for a business.
Yep, okay. With that, I'd like to make a motion for an area variance to allow a 20-foot rear setback where 50 feet is required for a new pole barn located at 580 Bay Road, and to allow the overall size to exceed 2% of the lot size associated with the construction of a new 2,100 square foot pole barn on a 1.2 acre parcel having SBL 063.101-1-89, located in an R3 single family residential district under section 350-12 and section 350-36 of the Code of Webster.
Second. Do we want to add not to be used?
Yep.
As
Not to be used for commercial use, will not be used for, an apartment, no water, no sanitary, will be connected to the, building as well. I think that covers it.
still second.
Mr. Short,
Aye.
Mr. Centola,
Aye.
Mrs. Wallop,
Aye.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Spampanato.
Aye.
You have your variance for the pole barn. You have 1 year to complete. You do need to obtain building permits and everything else to get this done. So good luck.
Thank you so much. I
you.
appreciate it, everyone. Thank you.
So the next applicant is for the Brahmin Nature Preserve. Property address is 1775 Ridge Road. Applicant is Emma Oaks from Costitch, Engineering. Zoning district is large lot, single-family residential district. The request, the applicant is requesting 2 feet front setback where 25 feet is required. Proposal is the installation of a 6-foot-tall, 7 feet wide, double-sided, carved, high-density urethane sign foam sign with eye bolts on the top and bottom of each section.
Thank you, Erica. Hi, everyone. I'm Emma Oaks. I'm a project manager at Costitch Engineering, and I'm here representing the Genesee Land Trust at one of their nature preserves in Webster, the Ava and Harlan Brahmin Nature Preserve. It's located at 1775 Ridge Road. Over the last few years, they've been able to make some improvements to the site to improve access for visitors. They've worked with New York State DOT, the town planning board, to get a parking lot and driveway apron put in. And now this year, they're looking to install an identification sign. Being a nature preserve, there are a lot of trees on the property, a lot of trees that my client would like to maintain. So we're looking for relief, locating the sign closer to the right-of-way in order to maintain the existing vegetation on the site, but also increase visibility for visitors, passersby, emergency vehicles to be able to find the property, properly identify the property in case of an emergency or just to visit.
So, I'd just like to say the section of ordinance in question is Section 265-4, general regulations, and 265-4I, no sign shall be located closer than 25 feet from any right-of-way.
So I can walk through the statements of difficulty here. We don't feel that there will be any adverse impacts to the character of the neighborhood here. We are maintaining the existing vegetation, so there will be buffers on both the west and east side of the property, so those neighbors won't really be able to see the sign when they're on their property. There is a commercial business across the street that will probably be able to see the sign 6 months out of the year. They have some pretty dense existing deciduous trees that have low canopy, low and wide canopy, and I don't think that they'll be able to see the sign from their business during the spring, summer, and early fall months. There is an existing sign at a cemetery, Union Hill Cemetery, just west down Ridge Road from this property. It looks like it's a historic sign, but it is either on the right-of-way line or very close to the right-of-way line.
It was probably there before the right-of-way was actually there.
Probably, yeah. I don't know how old that fence is. We've considered a bunch of alternative locations for this sign. A lot of them include tearing down the existing vegetation, those big, nice, mature trees that, of course, my client would like to maintain. You know, if we were to situate the sign and meet the setback requirement, it would actually put the sign on the south side of the existing parking lot in the woods, and you wouldn't be able to see it from the road. We don't feel that this is a substantial request. There's no lighting on the sign. It's of natural colors. It's green, and the sign frame itself will be made of wood. So there's nothing flashy about the sign at all. Impacts on the environment. We don't feel that there's any adverse impacts on the environment here. Really, the only disturbance to the site will be the post holes dug to install the posts for the sign. No significant construction, no adverse impacts to drainage. It actually will improve traffic and circulation to and from the site. We don't feel that this difficulty was self-created. We're really responding to the existing conditions on the site as best that we can by not impacting the vegetation here, by increasing visibility to the site. Yeah. I will also add that we coordinated with New York State DOT. We actually wanted originally the sign to be as close to the road as possible for better visibility, and they indicated that that was not possible to locate within their right-of-way. So we had to push the sign further south onto our property. I'll also add, we did sort of play around with, you know, which side of the driveway apron do we put the sign? And going back to the DOT comment, we felt that if we put the sign on the east side of the driveway apron, it would impact or clutter the view shed with some of the DOT existing signs over on that side of the driveway. So we really feel the west side of the driveway is the best spot for this sign.
Questions from the board?
Yes. Do you have an image of the sign?
I do, yes. I can give you all images. And I have an image of another nature preserve that has one of the signs installed, so you can see what it will look like. So of course we have.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
second image in the packet is an existing sign. It's a little bit misleading. The first page has a bunch of different signs on it, but it's really only 2 of those that are being put up. Those were just the proofs from the sign
Very much like a
manufacturer.
So
park
it's gonna
sign.
look just like this?
Just like that.
but with the appropriate name?
Yes, exactly.
What's the overall height?
6 feet,
Yeah, that's on 250.
6 feet?
6 feet from grade, yep.
So as I'm looking at the second, the Irene Goshen Nature Preserve, it'd be to the top of the 4x4 would be the 6 foot, 72 inches.
Yes, the
is that
top,
correct?
yeah, the top of the frame, yep,
Okay.
yep.
I can tell you, I drive by that particular area more frequently than not, and frankly, I didn't even realize that there was a nature preserve there. Same with the parking area until I drove by it. There is a grade change, though, from the road to where you are proposing? A couple of feet, 2 feet, maybe, 3
Yeah, I
feet
think
tops?
2 feet,
2
yeah.
feet? Is that why the 6 feet?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
because of that grade change, yep.
Okay.
I did an informal sign survey today, driving around town.
You got too much time on your hands.
I really don't, that's the problem. Looking at the different town parks that I hike around in, just to see what we did, because I know the town has its requirements as far as signs that are monument signs for businesses and offices and whatever, but I was trying to see what the town actually did in its own. And I found signs where, actually, the Gosnell Big Wood sign is probably location-wise from the right-of-way and the edge of the road, right about where this sign would be. The Vosburg Nature Trail was a little bit further back. The Herman Road sign was back against the back of the parking lot. It was very difficult to see unless you knew it was there and you were looking for it.
Charles A. Sexton Response Park sign is only about 10 feet off the parking lot.
Right, right.
Your survey stats in Webster.
Oh, it did. I didn't have that much time today. Trying to balance babysitting and my other responsibilities, it's difficult. What was the other one? I just lost my train of thought.
That was the idea.
Oh, the one. Anyway, there are signs within the Webster Park system that are, look very much like this, only the colors are different, and location-wise, were similar. And then, once I did find the parking lot, which took me a few passes past it to find it, I tried to figure out the line of sight from where this sign is. Is it going to be set back from the front of the fence or in line
In line
with the front
with the edge of the
fence?
pavement, yep, with
Which
the
is
front.
still far enough back that it did not impede my view of the road as I was pulling out, which was my bigger concern is, not that
Safety.
that's a busy stretch of Ridge Road, but I certainly don't want anybody getting clobbered coming out of it.
Especially since most people don't even know it's there.
Well, yeah. Where was I going with this? Anyway,
You liked it.
there are town park signs similarly located, is what I was trying to get to, with respect to the edge of the road. I'm done.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? No?
I drove around by
Not so much a question, more of a comment. Putting it on the west side, I understand the reason why, especially with the DOT signs there. Driving from the west to the east, you're still not gonna see that sign.
Because of the trees.
Because of the trees.
Yeah.
Something to
Considered pruning potentially. I think once the sign's in and my client sees it, they'll probably prune maybe some of those canopies.
Gotcha. I was gonna offer, not so much for this particular sign, but you might wanna put one at the trailhead as well. Other than, because as of right now, it's,
Corinne to trim the tree.
because as of right now, it's a parking lot. Nobody knows what it is. Putting the sign up, I think, is a great idea. This way, it allows people to know what is there, but then having one at the trailhead would help
That's a
as
great
well.
suggestion.
But that's for another time, so.
Yeah, I'll pass that on.
Any other questions? Nope. I'll open it up to the public, seeing that there's no public here. I'll bring it back to the board for final discussion.
I think it works well. Like I said, I drove by it twice,
Me too.
trying to make sure I got the right curb cut. So signage will definitely help if they want to encourage more people to use it. And
Yep.
obviously, it's a amenity that I think people will use it a lot more once they know it's there. So, and I think the signs work well. I mean, using the Irene Gossen one on 250, if that's exactly it, it'll work fine here.
So with that, I'd like to make a motion for a type 2 action under seeker pursuant to NYCRR, section 617.5 of the Environmental Code.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody want to do the findings?
Sure. The application as such, as submitted, will not present an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood it's in. While there are other remedies, they would involve clearing trees, which make part of the site worth walking and going to. So in that respect, there weren't any reasonable remedies that would work. It's not a substantial request as far as the variance goes. There are no adverse effects to the physical or environmental existing conditions on site. And while it is self-created, I believe the trade-off for putting it where you locate it as opposed to clear cutting 3 or 4 trees is more than worth the variance allowed.
Okay. Anybody else want to add anything else?
I do want to add that it does not block the line of sight pulling in and out of the parking lot, so it's not a safety issue.
All right. Anybody else? All right. I'd like to make a motion for the Brahman Nature Preserve sign located at 1775 Ridge Road for an area variance to allow a 2-foot setback from the right-of-way where 25 feet is required, associated with the installation of a 42-square-foot double-sided monument sign on a 71-acre parcel having SBL number 081.01-231, located in a large lot, single-family district. The sign will be no taller than 72 inches and will contain 2 hanging, eye-hook hanging signs, one that indicates Genesee Land Trust and their logo, and then the Eva and Harlan Brahman Nature Preserve.
Second.
Mr. Short,
Aye.
Mr. Centola,
Aye.
Mrs. Vola,
Aye.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Spagnano.
Aye.
You have your variance for the sign, 1 year to complete the project. Still need to get a building permit, correct, Josh, for this?
Yes.
Yeah, so we still need to get a building permit. Good luck and have a good night.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you guys.
Do we have to approve minutes?
All right, we have minutes for for the November and December meeting. I have everybody here for those.
Somebody,
I'm just making sure we have, yes,
no, mine is Don.
mine is done. I will make a motion to approve the November 24th, 2020, I'm sorry, November 19th, 2024 minutes.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And December something. I will make a motion to approve the December 10th, 2024 minutes.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, those are approved.
All right,
Yes, I need to sign these.
meeting is adjourned.